Mage Meadowbrook, Mistmane, A True Friend by Switchdown. Nearly a year after they had been returned to Equestria after being in limbo for 1,000 years, Mistmane and Mage Meadowbrook had been very good friends over the past year. But they had even been more friends in the past. But since after they became in the limbo and after, they didn't spend much time because Mage had to take care of her family clinic with her descendant Cattail, and since Mistmane has been offered to be the royal landscaper in the Crystal Empire, which she took a very honored with. So they didn't speak each other for the past year. The only time that they actually spoke went through letters. Since Mistmane was so busy over most of the time, and even that Mage had to take care of the family home and the clinic so very often. But during the holidays, especially Heartswarming Eve, is only the time few of the most rare times when Mistmane and Mage actually been able to see each other in person. But this actually, since they want to be the first Heartswarming Eve, they want to see each other since they have been back, Mage and her other friends were very surprised to see Mistmane in a different appearance. For about 6 months ago, Mistmane was doing her work when she was doing some usually new crystal flowers when something did happen. Some unusually way of an outburst of magic created some sort of magical explosion outburst, and when the outburst of the magic explosion was gone, Mistmane had regained her youth appearance. None of the scholars or the wizards in Crystal Empire, including Canterlot, had no idea how that is possible. Even Sunburst had been asked, but he had no idea. He read through all his books. Even Twilight had been asked, but nothing. And even Starlight, who has some experience of very old spells, had nothing to compare with this. But then, suddenly, one day, during this Heartswarming Eve, only the day before, Mistmane and Mage spent a lot of time together, including with Zenebula. They all ended up to spend time together, just having their girls' night for themselves. And since Stoshrold, Rockhoof, Miss Flash, and Stygian had their own time to have the guy nights out, but the girls, they usually just talked about what's happening over the past few months. Mage had actually something in plan to have to tell her friends. She is getting married. Both Mistmane and Zenebula could never couldn't even believe it. Their old friend is getting married. And then both of them started asking questions like, who's the stallion? How is he? Where is he from? What is he doing for some type of work? So much questions for her to even to overwhelm her. But she tried to answer as much as she could. She explained that he's a doctor who lives in Trondheim, that he's, well, mostly a doctor, and that he's the only child, and that he has very good reputation among the patients, and even that opponents in the town. And then he asked how long they have been together, and she answered for about nearly a year, and they have been engaged for about the past 2 months. And the wedding is going to be held sometime in June, early summer. But she had even asked who would be her bridesmaids, and she asked Mistmane if she wanted to be her bridesmaid. And Mistmane, She said that she could never be more honored to be it. And the rest of the holiday, everything seems to go perfectly well. But sometime a few months later, around early spring, when just the summer, just only about a few weeks before the summer was to be arriving, Mage received a letter from her fiance. But that was something she was really hoping to see because she wanted to see him for spend some more time before the wedding. But it turns out he broke up, he cancelled the wedding and decided to not marry her and left her. He actually decided to marry somebody else because he had fallen in love with her instead. And Mage, she took it very hard. She was looking forward to spend time with this particular pony because she thought that he loved her. But it turns out he did love her at first, but after meeting this other particular pony, he fell in love with her as well, and he had very hard time to choose because spend time with Mage, which he had only known for about a year, and since the other mare, he has been knowing her since his childhood. So who was he going to choose between? Mage or his new bride? He took the new bride, of course. And when she read the rest of the note on the letter, she was devastated. She couldn't even believe it. She was actually looking forward. She had already got her wedding dress. She had already sending out the invitation to all the guests, and now the wedding is called off. And how would she take it? So, what the only thing she could do? She wrote a note to her descendant Cattail and left her home, but she didn't say where she's going. After that, Cattail had been asking around from her friends if they had seen her, but they haven't, since Station was busy with his writing for another book, and Rocco was busy in Ponyville to be the teacher of history, and especially Flash was also occupied. Starshroll, he wasn't much around them anymore, because he was more in for traveling, so he was very hard to get touch with. But the other ponies that he could actually ask was Cenebula and Mistmane. But Cenebula haven't seen her since Heartswarming Eve. But Mistmane, she said that Mage was actually in Crystal Empire. She had been there for a couple of days, but she won't return for a while. She had informed all her friends and that the wedding is off. Mistmane, she couldn't even experience that what she had gone through, but what she believes is a very hard time. Because no pony wants to have this experience. Mage were hoping to stay in Crystal Empire for about at least a week or so, but Mistmane informed her that she could stay in Crystal Empire as long as she needed help, or at least some company. Mage thanked her. The days passed. Weeks passed. Months passed. For nearly almost a year, she stayed in Crystal Empire. And now her friends was getting more worried because Mage rarely spoke to any other ponies or even rarely eat anymore. She only perhaps ate only two or perhaps just one time per day. Mistmane was getting worried about her. She tried to ask her to eat some more, but when she tried, then she refused. She only ate maybe an apple or two apples, but it's only she ate. Mistmane was now getting worried. She asked her friends for some advice on what to do, but they all had different advice. This all told her, let her be. She will healing her by herself in her home time. Of course, it wasn't much she could do about it. She only could be there as support to Mage what she has been going through. And nearly a year after this breakup, Mistmane had actually thought about what about she could find some other stallion for Mage from Crystal Empire. But of course, when she revealed this to her, Mage just completely shut down and didn't say a word. She just sat in her room, locked the door, and didn't want to speak to her. Now Mistmane was even more getting more worried. But after a couple of days after that, Mistmane managed to convince Mage to at least go on a blind date on the speed dating. At least you could give it a try, at least once, she said. And she did. But for a so unusually different way. When she went there, she saw many stallions, many mares, but of all the other ponies there, some of them didn't seem to be her type, some were just regular ponies, but with just one of the ponies that actually put out more than expecting. He was actually an author. He was an author from the Crystal Empire. At first, they decided to spend some time after the speed dating, just take it slowly. The first couple of days just seems to be going well. They get to know each other better, seeing that he was actually had twin sisters and one younger brother, and both his parents still alive. They working as construction workers, or his mom is actually were a secretary for the company where his father works for, and that was all he needed to say about his parents, especially. After some time, only about a month, he actually decided to let her meet his family, and it went just perfectly. And especially his mother had asked, when you decided to settle down with him? And Mage, she didn't want to answer that because she was not ready for this commitment again after what happened the first time. But after nearly 6 months has been seeing each other, they actually decided to be a romantic couple. Even though deep down Mistmane was very afraid this new relationship will fail like the first one. But it didn't seem so, because every time when he was busy, he informed her that he will make up to her the next day, which he always did. He always took care of her. Every time when she was sick, she took care of her. Every time they would need have some, if she needed some space, he let her have a lot of time space she needed. She even helped him about to make some cures, potions back home. But after this, after being together for nearly 2 years, he actually proposed to her, and she said yes. But at only about a week before the wedding was going to be held, she was getting more feared now. She had the most terrifying fear, getting a letter from her new fiance telling her she isn't going to be married. But then, during the wedding, only that she actually received a message, but not a letter, but a pony actually went up to her room where she was waiting, and it was actually the best man telling her that her fiance hasn't arrived yet. And she was getting worried. She was like, he isn't coming? But the best man said he is coming, has been getting some delayed because his brother had some problem back home, which they got help. They would be there within the next couple of minutes, and that she felt relief. But after this wedding started, she was hoping to see that he was standing there at the altar. When the door opens, she sees that he's standing there. And she was just happy to see he was actually there and the wedding is going to be held. Mistmane was just being proud to see her friend so happy, but she tried to keep her tears from not ruining her makeup. After the wedding, Bill also had a big party, which most of her friends had organized. They even celebrated their honeymoon in 2 weeks in the Saudi Arabia. But when they were back, they decided to live in Crystal Empire, and that her descendant Cattail decided to take over the family clinic. But if he needed help, she would immediately go there to help him. And then, a few months after their wedding, they announced that they were having their first baby together, and Mage and her husband had actually asked Mistmane if she wanted to be the godmother, and she could never be more happy to be it. A few months later, they had a baby boy, and only about 2 years later, they had another baby, a daughter. And they even made Mistmane the godmother of her own, both of the children, even the legal guardian, just in case if something would happen. And she would never mind to be the legal guardian. And that's how Mistmane, Mage Meadowbrook became true friends. The end.